So tonight we're actually giving back, and we have a great lead who is very experienced, and he's going to come on and give you a little rundown of what he's been doing in the multifamily and how he's been able to retire coming soon. So with me tonight, we have Allan and Laurel Beezers. Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, how are you?
Hi.
Good to be with you tonight.
Great to see you guys. So go ahead and start. Let's give us a little background, what you guys have been doing, and tell us kind of where your life started. I know you started a long time ago in single family, and go through your careers and give us a head start on where you're going from here.
Well, great. Yeah, we actually started the very first house that we bought when we got married had a basement apartment, and we both grew up in families where my parents and Laurel's parents had a home with a basement apartment, so we kind of just grew up with that, and we found that, hey, wow, this is a pretty good deal. Here, this young couple gets a house, and we really don't have much of a house payment, if anything, at that time. So while we were going to college, it was a great investment, and then it's kind of changed over that time. We've moved around from Utah to Florida to Nevada, New Mexico, back to Utah, now to Texas, and all with my job in the dairy business. And as you can see then, Allan, my alias is the Milkman. 30 plus years in the dairy business. I have my MBA, and then Laurel, she is the her alias is Real Estate Goddess.
Now, well, I can tell you that's the truth, because she is really engaged.
Yeah.
She made me put that in there, just so you know. This is probably the first time she saw that, actually. So
it's a good tag.
What about me? Oh, I don't know. I have a history in bookkeeping. I've done books for many, many years for companies, but my biggest claim to fame, I guess, is that I am a Red Cross swim instructor. I teach swimming lessons in my backyard, have for almost 15 years, sometimes 100 students a day. I have a real passion for that because we lost a little girl in a swimming accident. So that's my big focus, as I try to do swimming lessons in the summer.
That's a great way to give back to.
Yeah, it's been very important to us. We have 4 children, 3 living, and we have 7 grandchildren and 5 grand dogs. Dogs are very important to Laurel, so we have to make sure we name them. Our background, we've already talked about the house, various single family rentals over the years. Now this wonderful young couple that you see there, that's from when we were just getting married. I know many of you may not recognize that that's us, but it is.
Great.
When we joined Lifestyles Unlimited, we had 2 single family houses and 1 multifamily investment. And since joining, we've got three single family houses, 35 multifamily investments, over 4,000 doors, 2 now as leads, 1 close to closing.
Next week, we close on our 3rd.
Next week, yeah. 33 as passive investors, and 9 of those we've been key principal on. So
David taught us all this.
Yeah, David taught us all of this, and we jumped right in.
You've been to his seminar.
4,300 doors. That's a lot of doors. 4,300 doors in apartments. That's a lot. How much work do you put into those?
Well, as passives, we don't put any work into that. So that, and if you really want to live the lifestyle, that's what you do. If you want a full-time job, you become a lead.
Yes, and it's really a full-time.
About the Beezers though is your kids. They're getting involved in real estate as well. I mean, I swear I've seen you 50 times in my seminars. Like you call me up, Dave, are you teaching this weekend? Okay, then we're gonna come. We're gonna bring this person. So it's kind of cool to see that legacy going on too. So.
Yeah, we have all 3 of our kids, our daughter-in-law's parents, my dad, my 2 brothers, and
a nephew, a niece, and
and yeah, that's all.
And then a bunch of friends.
Wow, that's a legacy for sure.
Yeah.
Good.
So how did we join Lifestyles? I'll let Laurel tell this.
I used to listen to the radio show. I listened to it for about a year on my way home from church every Sunday, and I would get so frustrated. I even would call in. I've called in 2 or 3 times. And one time we met with our financial advisor, and he told us that we were already saving 20% of our income. And he told us that if Allan worked longer or if we saved more, we would be able to retire and live a good life like at 85 or some crazy thing. And it made me so mad that I came home and I said to him, we are going to this seminar. There's got to be a different way that we can. And we were doing the rental homes, and we always knew that's something we were interested in. But after going to Dave's seminar, we found out we were doing it all wrong. But that just, it spurred us into going to the seminar because it made me so mad that here we were saving and it wasn't good enough. And our house was paid off. Still said that.
Yeah, house paid off, money in the bank and 401ks and IRAs. But if I just worked maybe till in my late 60s, I'd make sure I didn't run out of money before I was 89. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You still have to watch what you spend. Congratulations, you won.
Bad plan. But now we have the right map. We have the ability to travel and visit our grandkids and our kids, and we're very fortunate that way. And transition my career sooner, perhaps very soon.
Very soon.
Within the next couple months.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah. Have the ability to give back and just travel for fun too. So we're excited about those changes.
Yeah, the passive, we were not going to be leads. When we first joined, I didn't have any desire to be anything but a passive, and that's the way we were going to go. He kind of always wanted to be a lead. So that was him that kind of to push that because he wanted to get to the retirement pathway sooner.
Mike, really quick, Mike, could you explain to folks out there listening for the first time? We're throwing out the word lead and passive. Could you just explain to folks out there the difference between them really quick in layman's terms?
Oh, absolutely. If you're a passive investor, and Dave will go through this weekend, if you're a passive investor, that is just like mailbox money. What you're doing is you're looking and evaluating deals and investing in those deals through a lead investor. Now, a lead investor is the person who puts these deals together and runs them. It's basically like a captain of a plane. The captain of the plane is the lead investor, and the passengers in the back of the plane are the passive investors. Straightforward, pretty clean. Now, I know these guys personally, and they are fantastic lead investors. So they've run a few deals now. They've done very well.
Thank you, Mike. Yep.
Good, Dave, next one.
A great ride. Many challenges along the way, but it's been worth it. We've really enjoyed it. So
our first deal we sold after a year and returned 67%
to everybody in 1 year.
Phenomenal. That was great.
That was very fun.
Yeah.
We got that going and it worked out really well.
Yep.
It did.
So we're gonna talk about.
Yeah, so go into your next one. This was your second deal. Your first deal was in Irving, Texas. So right. West Village is your second deal. What made you pick this deal?
We found that it was in some ways very similar to our first deal in that it was owned by an IRO, and there was not they were making great money, so there wasn't necessarily motivation to push the rents, push RUBS, do some things that would increase the value of the property even more. I mean, they were making great money, so why do anything else? And we could see that when we looked at the property and the many opportunities that were there, if we just put a little effort into it. So we purchased the property back in July of 2019 for $6.3 million. We're kind of we have 56 partners and we only had to raise $2.5 million. we kind of really believe that we want to give new investors and investors with not as much money an opportunity to join some of our deals. And so we had investors in this deal, one, I think, or two at 10,000, a couple at 12.5, a lot at 25. Now, as your deals get bigger, that's hard to do. But in the next one coming up, we still have, I think it's 12 or 13 people at $25,000. So we just really believe that, hey, let's let people in and give them an opportunity.
This is very important too. Understand, we can't do these multi-million-dollar assets ourselves. So this is a team. Like I said, you have the lead investor and you have all the passive investors that are in the deal. Very important. We can't do this alone.
And one thing I really appreciate the Beezers doing is they didn't forget where they came from. You know, they didn't forget the little guy. And that's a big thing Dell does about legacy. Lifestyles can turn into this big conglomerate where it's all multimillionaires, all accredited investors, only doing $40, $50 million deals, minimum investments of 200, 300 grand. But what about the truck driver? What about the fireman? What about the forgotten man out there? And thank you for keeping that integrity of always keeping a couple of slots for the little guys at 25 grand. Everyone deserves a great rate of return. So I just want to thank you guys for doing that, remembering that.
Thanks. So this is a property that we self-manage now as well. And David, see, I told you that we have our own logo now, Milkman Management. We purchased this at a cap rate of 5.4%. We have a 12-year loan at 4.14% interest, 4 years interest only. Now, 4.14 sounded great a year and a half ago, right? But nowadays, that is a super high interest rate. But even with that, we're doing great. Capital repairs, our budget, we anticipated about $500,000. And that would be focused on interiors, exterior repairs and paint, a lot of water conservation. As we get into some pictures, we'll show you some of the things. So you can see this is
The drainage.
Yeah. So these are the before pictures. Okay. So you can see, like, when we got on this property, and Mike, you came with us when we were doing some of the due diligence, but there were sandbags out in front of the doors of these units on the
All up and down.
all up and down. And every time it rained hard, they got water. So we spent $50,000 and put in a drainage system across the front and the back of this property so that now we don't have those issues. And obviously it's worked out great for us. This is one of our rehabbed units. You can see we made this special for, oh, wait a minute. No, this was the before.
You're a little early on that. So,
Yeah.
So I want to know who in their right mind would walk this property and see everything torn up, see that there's flooding going on and sandbags everywhere, and this is a property you wanted to buy. Look at this place.
Yeah. Well, it's like David says, right? What's the smell of money? It's cat
Catfish. Yep.
Yeah.
We just knew there was a lot of things that we could do. We could see there was so much deferred maintenance. The water heater wasn't hooked up to the laundry room. They weren't letting the contractors have electric service. They had to just run a long extension cord clear down to the office. I mean, we just could see that they were not taking care of business there.
Beautiful. A lot of opportunity.
Yep.
We spruced it up.
So here's the
painted.
contrast. You saw the first picture of the kind of dingy gray paint and dingy gray doors, and we brightened it up with some lighter colors on that second story, some orange and blues, and then our interiors now.
These pictures are a little washed out, but they look really good inside.
No,
You can see
you
it's
guys
a-
did a great job. It now pops.
It now pops, yeah.
I love the interiors. I mean, I love that gray color paint. It looks awesome.
Yep. Simple. Looks great. Outside, driving down the road, colors you picked really make it pop.
Yeah.
And we added a dog park. We added a playground for the kids. You know, that's not going to necessarily hit your bottom line as far as so you can increase rent necessarily, but it helps to retain residents. And it also, when people pull in that might have kids, they might see that we've got a brand new playground, and then they might want to rent. Or if you've got a pet and you've got a place for your pet to go, it supports any rent increase that we may have on the property, and it just makes it look better. We have this huge green space that goes the whole back of our property, and so to be able to use it for the residents rather than just have it as empty green space is a positive thing.
Right.
Great amenities, looks good.
And
Good
the big
draw.
thing you guys hit on was it's about retention, you know, and retention is key. That's one of the biggest expenses in the apartment industry is keeping the resident there, not, you know, having them renew rather than move somewhere else. So it's just like in marriage. What's the famous thing in marriage? What do you say?
Yes,
You're right.
It's cheaper to keep her, right? So you want them to stay, not to move out. Never mind.
Yeah.
This is a little different in that this is a little different. We do want to retain some, but because nothing had been done to the property for 4 years, we have let people move out so that we could do some upgrading, but after they're in there, then you don't want them to stay.
Exactly. Once you have your upgraded units, yeah.
Implement the rubs and.
Oh, that was another thing. They weren't doing any rubs. They weren't charging for pet rent, but there were lots of dogs on the property. They just were not capitalizing on some of the things you could
And
do.
real quick for the folks listening, when they said rubs, it doesn't mean to hire a massage therapist that gave everybody a back rub. That stands for ratio utility billing system. These are things I'll teach you, ways to increase the value on the property. They're already experts because they've been doing this for a while. But if you're brand new, a lot of lingo you're going to hear tonight is going to sound like Greek to you. Don't worry. This weekend, I'll break it down to a 3rd grade level. And it's just like this chart here. You're like, what the heck are all these numbers? Just keep it simple, guys. If you're brand new, first time looking, the bottom line, that's your rate of return. Everybody can understand that. It's like buying a CD with that rate of return, tax-free income.
Yeah, you don't need to go into the minutia of this, like Dave says. Bottom line, cash flow.
Yep.
Yeah, so our cash flow, we projected out at nearly 8.5, and 9.2. That's kind of where we were. And then I think you go to the next slide, it'll show where we actually are.
But really quick, I want folks out there listening. Compare this to what you're making right now on your dividend paying stocks, whatever. Are you making 8.5 or 9% return? But not only that, is it tax-free income? Because this will all be tax-free, which I'll teach you why this weekend. They pay no taxes on that money. So if you're a 1%er out there, you know, people that actually earn money and make money in this world, okay, this tax-free income is huge for you as an investment strategy. But yeah, it's going to show you how much they increase the value on this next slide.
So again, now these are the projections for that too. So the purchase price 6.3, and then we wanted to be up to about 7.48 or $7.5 million by year 3, and that would have given us a equity capture of $1.18 million. But we're more than ready.
For you guys who are new, how this is done, this is very different than single family properties. Single family properties, the value is dictated by the neighborhood. The benefit of multifamily is our assets. These are truly commercial assets. The value is driven by the NOI. And the bottom goal for what we try and do is raise our NOI. That's why we go in and fix up the places, and that allows us to raise the rents. If you'll look at year 1, 2, and 3, you see that NOI rising up. That NOI drives the value. And Dave will get into that this weekend, all the minutia.
And we're just barely entering we just hit the anniversary in August, and we're almost already at projection, at a 3rd year projection.
Or at least at 2, I can't remember.
2.5.
Yeah.
So in other words, you were super conservative on your estimates. You're exceeding expectations.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Even with COVID.
yeah, even with COVID,
Even being a man.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we actually are paying out distributions, even though COVID is out there right now. We are being a little conservative with how much we're giving because we want to make sure we keep the cash, right? But we have the money there. And the nice thing about this property is, we have about $500,000 in the bank. So we are in great shape no matter what happens with whether it's how do you say it, the Republicans and the Democrats,
Yep.
whatever.
The Democrats, yep, regardless. Yep.
Okay. But
and that's key. You guys know that, but the best thing to do is have a strong balance sheet. And you guys have done an excellent job with that.
Yeah, because with COVID, it's been a challenge. They've extended the moratorium. So, yes, we have a few residents that are basically living scot-free, and, you either hire attorneys or you try to work with them until this thing gets taken care of. There are a few, but the majority of our people are trying, and they're still paying, and we're still leasing like crazy. With rental increases. So
that's key.
Yeah, and I want the folks out there to understand, no matter what the economy's doing, do people need a place to live?
Yep.
It's a necessity, not a luxury. We don't do high-end stuff. We don't do low-end stuff. We do the middle class, hardworking Americans. That's why folks like the Beezers and myself, we survive while other industries are struggling, because I'm sorry, that Subway became a luxury item. People tighten their belts. They're staying at home. They're going to Walmart and getting great value bread and great value peanut butter while they live in their place and they're paying their rents. So, and most of our people that rent from us are those essential workers, the people that work at Walmarts and Amazon and our first responders. So that's why we mitigate our risk through real estate, and we're making money even in this economy that's the worst economy ever. Trump's the evil man, whatever. You understand? We're still making money, 8-9%. So
exactly. So how do we do this? We took care of our residents. We made sure that, as you saw by the pictures, we give them a nice place to live. We have some nice amenities. There's also a pool on the property. Unfortunately, this year, nobody's been able to use it because of COVID, but during that time, we've been able to increase our rents, implemented RUBS. Geez, I think with RUBS now, we're over $3,000 a month just in RUBS. When you add the cap rate to that, I should have had that math already done, but it's a big number on the value, and Dave will teach you about that this weekend. So
yeah, we just, and we did like the dog park and the playground, and we added cameras so that it just gives a better feel. We just try to take care of our residents. For Halloween, we had a taco truck come in and give free tacos to anybody who wanted. So we try to do some things that make our residents feel like it's a community. And it was nice because we did have one of the residents say she had lived there once before and moved out. And she said, "You've done more with this place than anyone ever did." It's a silly thing, but we just put in all brand new mailboxes because our others were half broken and ugly. And so, see, that doesn't rent out to anybody, but it increases the way our property looks and how the residents feel that they're taken care of.
Yeah. So,
sorry.
Go ahead.
Really quick, just so you know, you said your RUBS was about $3,000. That's $36,000 a year, and you said it about a 6 cap rate. Do you realize $600,000?
Yeah, I just did the math too. So yeah.
Yep, 600,000.
600,000.
It's the value.
In value.
But I'm an idiot savant.
Because that's income that comes in, and then it goes to the value of the property over a year's time.
And I know that's Greeked everybody out here, but just that one little change made a huge difference for his investors down the road. And I'll explain that because there's 28 different ways to make money in real estate on multifamily. We can increase this income. And that's just one way, is this RUB thing. It's not a back rub. It's raise your utility billing system. But I'll explain that this weekend. And I know that sounds like a bunch of gobbledygook, but would you like to make an extra 600 grand just because you charge people for water that they're using anyways? Absolutely.
Well, and see, we just started reserved parking on this property just this month. And we have, I think, 10 or 12 that just signed up because we just barely offered it a couple of weeks ago. That's going to probably add another, what did you figure out?
75,000 to the value of the property.
Just offering people places to
put a little metal sign for $50. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
free money.
Yeah, and we were going to do that earlier, and then COVID hit. We decided, okay, let's
not hit people.
let's not hit people too
But
much.
we offered it this
right away,
month,
but yeah.
and we've got people
People
that
love
already
that.
that will increase as well.
Absolutely.
Strange enough, but a reserved parking actually adds to the community. They feel
Yeah,
like they're more part of the community because they have a parking spot now.
Yeah,
They have their own place,
yeah, they like it.
And we have parking all in front of these units, and so they really want to park right in front of their unit.
Yeah.
Allan, you have to be careful. If you cough in Texas, we shoot you.
I know, it's bad, isn't it? I always feel so self-conscious every time I cough.
Yeah, I know. Gotta hide. Awesome. So how did it change you guys' lives?
Look at this picture. This is a picture of you, David, when I brought
The middle picture, yeah.
the middle
Oh,
picture.
yeah, that is me in the middle. Okay. I
Yep,
remember
we
that.
brought my brothers and
Yeah.
my dad to this one.
There you go.
Yeah.
Man, I was fat there too. Okay.
So we've been
Yeah, kind of
members.
neat seeing the whole legacy in your family coming to seminars and stuff. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? They're all in deals too. They're
Yeah,
all
they're all in-
They're all best apartments now. I love seeing that. That's
Multiple
cool.
deals, yeah.
multiple deals. And our one son has 3 rental homes now too.
That's
Nice.
good. There you go. Cool. Okay, and we have to talk about your dogs, right?
Yeah. So Laurel can tell the story on this. This was from our first property when we were doing due diligence.
We were doing due diligence, and I love dogs, and I get distracted easy because I must have ADD or something. But Allan was going with the contractors around to the different apartments, and this dog that you can see in the picture was in a kennel underneath this kitchen table, and you can tell, you couldn't even see her face. She had hair everywhere, and she was so friendly. And I said to this lady, "Oh, this is such a cute dog." And she said, "Do you want it?" And I said, "Are you serious?" And she said, "Yes." But to make a long story short, after due diligence, I went back to the apartment and asked her if she still wanted to do this. She handed the dog to me on a leash. The leash was actually welded to her chain on her neck because she never took that leash off. And she handed me her stuff. She gave her to me. That bag down there is all the hair we took off that first night, and then we took her to the groomer. Our son was swimming across from Alcatraz to across the harbor in San Francisco, so we flew out to help him, and he'd been looking for a dog. So we took cute Izzy out there to him, and now she's the most spoiled dog on the planet, and that's her in red. And our son has that cute little dog now, and I wish we hadn't given her away because we love her. And I keep looking for another dog or a cat at every time we do a due diligence.
So yeah, we have to go look at a lot of more apartments just so we can try to find another dog.
My dogs, okay.
Buddy.
So what's your goals?
So our goals, close on a third multifamily property
Next week.
Next week.
That's a little bigger. It's
60.
160 units.
Continue
That's a
to
big
invest.
jump.
Pardon?
That's a big jump. Congratulations,
big-
you guys.
Yeah, because
It's
we
very
went from
exciting.
11 to 66 and now 160.
Yeah.
But we know we can do it.
No doubt.
We're going to continue to invest passively. Even though we're leads, we enjoy and want to get to that passive lifestyle at some point in time. The only way you do that is continue to grow your portfolio. So
We didn't put retire in there, but
yeah, that was on the other side. So transition my career. So that means transition out of my career into real estate full time. And that's coming, as we said, very soon.
we just purchased another home where our daughter lives with most of our grandkids so that we can split time back and forth.
And right now that'll be a rental, but in the future, we'll turn that into something that we can stay in when we get to that point and have some more time. Long-term goals, continue to expand multifamily deals, continue as a passive, travel more, and give back.
And you guys do a great job of that. Good.
And of course, you can't do it without your team. You've got Mike Spots here with us, Don Rao, Alex Clark, mentors, and Charles Ho, who's no longer a mentor, but he was very influential with us in the past as well. Mia Davis, our consultant, and multiple Lifestyles Unlimited members, and of
Wow.
course our passive investors that have had faith enough in us to track with us through the first property into the second one, and now many of those have gone into the third one with us as well. So we want to thank all of them. And then Carolyn has been with us through these last couple of properties as well. Jackie Green helped us on our first one. And then some of the vendors.
Realtors for the new people.
Yeah.
Just a touch base. Carolyn is the multifamily realtor. As Sadie and Jackie and Carolyn, they can bring you the properties.
And
They can
Brenda
show
too.
you the tour. What's that?
And Brenda too now. Brenda does multifamily too now. She used to be single family.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's right, Brenda Salcedo. Yeah.
She got us one of our first
One of
single
our
family.
first single family homes. Yep.
And the mentors have been unbelievable, and so have the other leads, because there's been so much work to be a lead. We have leaned on all these other leads and asked them questions. Mike is on my speed dial all the time because he's done a lot of deals, and I can ask him about anything from personnel issues, because we do self-manage these properties ourselves. So he started us, and I did not want to self-manage, and he kept saying, oh, you guys are there all the time, you're working, you might as well do it. And I didn't want to, but we did, and now we're doing it on our third property, and Mike has been instrumental, so has Alex. These leads have just, I can call these guys that have done this before and say, how do I do this?
Yeah, and Mike's awesome because he knows the difference between a Schrader valve and a sequencer.
Yep. And then of course, Old Capital Lending, Ricardo and Paul.
Yes.
I mean, they have been phenomenal to work with. I just can't say enough good things about Old Capital Lending. Ricardo and Paul have been with us through
every deal,
and have been very instrumental in helping us get financing that we need, and making sure that they kind of hold our hands till we get to closing. So.
And
the key takeaway to this is a team effort. Nobody can do this on their own, and that's where everybody comes in.
Yep.
Right, you guys ready for questions?
Yeah, let's go to questions.
Release the hounds.
All right, so we've got quite a handful here. So, can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah,
sound good.
Perfect. All right, so Fred was asking, what is a key principal?
So a key principal is someone who helps sign on the loan for another lead investor. You have to have a certain amount of
Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac agency.
Agency experience is one thing, but also liquidity and net worth, and as we've talked about before, you can't do these deals all on your own. Most of the time, you need not just the passive investors to come along with you, but you also need somebody that's gonna help you qualify for this loan, and so we've been able to do that in 9 instances. And on our deals, we've had people that have been KP for us too. So
yeah, mainly what a KP is you're using somebody else's net worth to help you close on your deal. And Dave will go through all the details of what that means later, or probably this weekend.
Perfect. And then Allan was asking if commercial loan rates are lower than single family rental loan rates, typically.
I think right now, most commercial loan rates are about the same. Isn't that right, Mike? And
typically they are going to be the same, but they're run differently depending on the asset and depending on the term. If you get a single family house, it's typically done on a 15 or a 30-year amortization term all the way through. Multifamily commercial assets are bought with a 30-year or a 25-year AM. Dave can go into more detail, but they're driven differently because the terms are shorter.
Cool. Thank you.
But usually the interest rates are very similar. because it's based off of tenure.
Excellent. And Alan was asking about how much money you had when you first signed up with LU. Like, were you pretty much ready to go? You had a full retirement and ready, or kind of built up along the way?
Yeah, that's a great question. We were very fortunate, as Laurel talked about at first. You know, we had done very well. So we'd saved up our money. We were Dave Ramsey people, even though when we were doing that, we really didn't know who Dave Ramsey was to start out with. But had always paid cash for most, like cars. We didn't have any credit card debt or car debt. Our home was paid off, and we'd been saving 20% of our income into a 401k and IRA. So we had some money to be able to do that. You know, it's interesting is when you start out, you think, oh crap, I can only do a couple of deals. But then you start thinking, oh, wait a minute, I've got this house that's paid off. I can borrow money against that. And oh, hey, I can pull some money out of my 401k, or I can liquidate these stocks that really aren't paying much. And you kind of find money.
But the biggest answer to that question is we did have our house paid off. And so we decided that we were going to go all in on this. We could see the path. We had looked at real estate once before. So we did do a jumbo loan and got $400,000 cash out of our house and deployed all of that in deals.
Right.
Plus,
I ruined you.
Yeah, I know.
Just like you. Just like you.
Well, you know, and then the nice thing about that is if you do invest and you have this chance, like Dave talked about, of increasing your net worth, and we've more than doubled our net worth in the last 4 years. So
that's fantastic. Congratulations.
And that's what's relative. It doesn't matter how much Alan and his wife had. Take whatever you have and double it. You have 100 grand, you have $500,000, you have 2 million, doesn't matter, and double in 2 years. You did more in 2 years than you did in 30 years. And that's the power of that number.
Yep.
Right.
So Emma was asking, and I thought this was a curious question, but very good. She asked, what are some of the big ticket items that are included under the operating expenses budget?
Big ticket items are property taxes, insurance, wages. Those are kind of the biggest ones. And unfortunately, the property taxes are horrendous in Texas, and that's one of the biggest things that you have to try to manage. Then utilities are.
You would fight them every single year, and I teach you that.
Every year.
Every year we protest them. In fact, in this year on this property, we are taking them to court. We're litigating. So
because
sometimes
it jumped.
do that.
It jumped. Our property taxes on this property went up $1,800 a month.
Thanks, Obama.
So
joking.
Yeah. Right.
Well, whoever.
You blame him for everything. I figured we could too.
I'm glad. I'm very glad to hear you're protesting.
Yeah, those are huge. The property taxes and the insurance is really has gone up.
Yeah.
Those are the three biggest.
Right.
Cool. Thank you. And then you mentioned just briefly utilities, which Jeff was asking if you're using a third party for your rubs, and if so, if you can share which company.
We are doing that all on our own.
Yeah, in our software, there is the ability to do that. So we just take that bill and just do that. I know a lot of people do use a third party.
For example, Resman, what are you using?
Resman is our software.
And you want to know they're using Resman. It's a property management software that a lot of our leads use. It's just one of the companies.
And you can go in and decide by how many residents and the square footage, and then you just put the bill in and it figures it out for you. But I know some people use a service, but why do I want to pay another service?
That's a good answer.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned that you're working. I know you're doing rubs yourself. Fred was asking how much total time did it take you to do the work, and I'm not sure which time period he's speaking of specifically. So maybe just a general.
Oh, wow.
So on this particular property, over the course of the past year and a few months, I would bet that we probably most of the time average 15 to 20 hours a week. At the start, it was a lot more. Laurel was at the property probably 3 or 4 days a week, all day long. And then as we got that more stabilized, and there was a little bit less, but we still do a lot of work right from the house here. So there's, people ask sometimes, in fact, some of our on-site staff said, well, do you work on the weekends? And we're like, yes, we do. Whatever we need to do to do it. Being a lead is not
For the faint of heart.
is not for the faint of heart.
And
It's
just so
definitely
folks
possible.
understand, it's a full-time job for these lead investors. They're there, they're a fiduciary, they're taking care of your money. I want them there. I don't want them being MIA. I want them to concentrate on that asset. That's a good lead investor. As a passive, you're gonna get an email with pitches. Oh, that's horrible. Oh, that's horrible. Honey, give me another coffee. Oh, that's horrible. Where's my check? That's all you care about as a passive. I just want you to understand the difference.
Yeah, the passive's easier that way. And it has been a little bit harder with COVID because we're trying to work with people and we're trying to come up with ways and innovative ways to help these people out. And it's stressful for our staff and it's stressful for us. But I mean, I will call on bids, and if it's $20 less a month, I'm going to take that other bid, even though $20 a month doesn't seem like very much, but I have all these people sitting on my shoulder that I'm responsible for. So I want to make sure I get the best price for what we're trying to produce.
Yeah.
Mhm. Perfect. And then Emma was asking on this property in particular, did you purchase it from another Lifestyles member?
Actually, yes, it was a Lifestyles member, but it was an IRO.
And he was not a
Right.
lifestyle member when he bought this
Correct.
property.
Yeah,
But
it was
Okay.
just him and his siblings, and they were not Lifestyles members when they bought the property.
But he is, yes.
Perfect.
But we like
And then
idea because our other one was an IRO, and I think as an IRO, there's things that they don't look at that we do to be responsible for all those other investors.
cool.
And hold your feet to the fire, having people yet you're responsible for their money, because trust me, they'll let you know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And then John was asking, he said, with all the deferred maintenance and issues, why is the cap rate so low? So maybe if you could give some insight as to what affects the cap rate.
Sure. Cap rate was low, and you'll see that low throughout most of this market because
Here in the Dallas market, it is that way.
it's just a hot market, and people they can get more. If you want the property, you're going to pay for it, and
Comes down to supply and demand in that area, and it's very, workforce housing is needed because so many different jobs.
The occupancy was high. That was another reason the cap rate was good. The occupancy was in the 90s, and anytime you have a stabilized property, you're going to get more money for it. But you know what? The market was in such a hot demand right there. When we got the quote on the bid for the drainage, we had kind of budgeted about $25,000. Come to find out, the bids all came in at around $50,000, and we talked to the owner to see if they would be willing to split the cost or anything with us. And he said, no, there are 7 other people in line behind you that will pay full price. So take it or leave it. So the reason the cap rate was low is because it's Dallas. The occupancy was high. The assets was in very good condition as well. There were a few things like that, but it was in good condition.
And remember, folks, this is in the weed stuff. This is because we have a lot of people watching tonight that are in hundreds of deals already, and they're asking very in the weeds. If you're new, ignore all this stuff. It's Greek to you. Just think of rate of return. Can I double my money every couple of years? The answer is yes. This is just for the, what we call preferred members out there showing their, I don't know what it's called, but that's a good.
Just remember, you're going to make more money doing this than you will putting your money under the mattress or in a bank.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. Perfect. And then Dan was asking, how long did it take between your second lead apartment and the third deal coming up?
You mean time frame? Probably just over a year.
All of our deals have been about a year apart.
Yeah.
You have, Lifestyles has some rules and regulations, and I'm sure Dave will go over those, but before you're allowed to look for another property, you need to make sure your property is stabilized for so many days and that it's running well. That's to keep you from just going out and buying lots and lots of properties and forgetting what's happening. And so we wanted to make sure that our properties were stable, that we were paying out to our distributors. And then it takes a while to find something. There's a lot of competition and you're out there.
Yeah.
And so it takes 6 months or so of looking to find a deal that fits your parameters. So all of our deals have been about a year apart or a little more.
And I want folks out there to understand, we have a lot of these things that Dell came up with years ago to protect these passive investors. We make them be stabilized. It has to be 90% full for 90 days. And then their investors got to vote for them to go to the next deal. That's our suggested best practices, just to protect those investors. Make sure a guy isn't buying so many deals in a row and he's not even ready to go to his next deal. And that's why they're waiting for this deal's right. Now we'll move on.
Yeah. Perfect.
Want to take one more?
Yeah, one more. 1 second, let me find it again. I'm not seeing it right at the moment, but one of our members was asking if there's anything specific that you look for in a good passive.
Good question.
Somebody that has some money. No. No, I think we like passives that know what they're doing, right? That they've had the training that Lifestyles provides, so that they're not just joining and giving you your money without really understanding what they're doing, right? That they've read the PPM, that they've done the online classes and all the training that Lifestyles provides. Because once you go through this and you start, like we send out monthly financials along with kind of a report about what's happening with the property, usually a few pictures here and there. And you want passives that kind of understand the process and kind of don't ask silly questions. You know, they ask informed questions. Questions are great. We love questions, but informed questions are a lot.
And we're going to be in these deals for years with these people. So, you know, we don't mind questions. We're the leads though, and we don't want people who are going to tell us how to run our business. But if they ask questions, but we're really good at communicating. Allan is fantastic at getting reports out and keeping people informed. We'd rather, if there was something bad, which we haven't had, knock on wood, we let people know. So we have been very lucky. We have great passives. We love it. We try to get together with them every so often. We love our passives.
Okay, I have a final thing for you two. What advice would you give new folks that are listening for the first time tonight, never been to my seminar yet? They're brand new, because there's a bunch of new folks. What advice would you give the new folks?
You'll laugh yourself silly if you go see Dave.
So yeah, it's very entertaining to go see Dave, but I think we look at ourselves and we kind of knew that there was a real estate map out there somewhere, and we wish that we would have joined or had that opportunity to join 30 years ago when Dell first started up Lifestyles, but we weren't exposed to it then. So, you know, join early and take action. You know, we've been to meetings where we've run into people that are preferred investor group members, and maybe they've been members for several years and they still haven't even invested in a deal. That is just ludicrous to us. When we joined, I think we got into our first deal within like a month.
3 weeks.
And maybe that was a little too soon, but for us, we had already done one multifamily deal before we joined Lifestyle. So we
kind of had the idea.
We kind of had the idea, and we went to everything. We participated in every event that Lifestyles had, and did all the training that we could possibly get. And so just take action.
Yeah, really, truly, that's the biggest thing. If you join, if you do it, take the class from David, number one, because we decided we were going to take the class after we went to the two 2-hour, because we thought no matter what, we're going to learn something that's going to help us in our real estate path. So we went to David, and I'm not kidding you, the bells and whistles and all the things just popped in our mind about this is the way that we have been looking for so long. So go to his class, take some action. Don't just join and sit around. There's lots of opportunities to make money in different ways. So we're just mad we didn't do it sooner.
That's the biggest complaint I hear. Would, should have, could have, regrets. Why didn't we find this sooner? But we don't have time clocks. When's the perfect time to invest? Now. Doesn't matter when now is.
Yeah.
Now is the point. Yeah, I agree.
I think of our kids, all of our kids, I mean, are all going to be they're in all these passive deals, and they're going to be able to retire a long time before we did. But they're all learning and on the path, and they're all in multiple deals already. And our one son's only 26 years old.
Yeah, and what I love about that is, you know, some parents pass on and their kids inherit stuff and they blow it because they don't know what to deal with it. But your kids are already trained, so even if something happens to you two, will know how to handle your assets, and you don't have to worry about it now because they're all educated as well. I love that you did that. So it's good for the legacy.
Great.
All right. Well,
All right.
go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Thank you very much for telling us your story. You got a great story. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate it.